On today's episode of Curve Ahead, I am joined by Courtney Kehl, CEO of Expert Marketing Advisors. And as always, I'm Brian Wiles. I am your podcast host and the founder of AutoZ. Hey, Courtney, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate your time today. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Brian. My name is Courtney Kehl. I'm the founder and owner of Expert Marketing Advisors. We are a B2B, end-to-end B2B marketing team.
So, what inspired you to start Expert Marketing Advisors?
You know what? I was very fortunate. I was able to just start it organically. We were green before we even had a bank account. But where it kind of all came about was one of the companies that I had worked for prior was being acquired by Cisco. And so it was a lot of folks were knocking on my door, seeing what my next steps would be and where I was going next. And I, over the years, I've always had like a team of people that I'm very comfortable with, the loyal army, and pull them from one company to the next. So as people were asking for my input or just kind of like diving in a couple projects, I just finally said, you know what, yes, let's say yes to everybody, and we can spin off and be our own team and just hit the ground running. So it was really organic in that sense. Very fortunate.
Do you think saying yes early on to everybody helped or hindered you, or kind of both?
I mean, no, it definitely, year one, you don't know what to say no to. I mean, the power of no isn't really a part of your first year in business. And then, of course, as we were saying yes to everything, we started realizing where we were really great and where we could make it repeatable and then scalable.
So saying yes led to a lot of important lessons from your perspective as a business on, hey, these are the
Yeah.
things that we're actually excelling at. Let's focus more our efforts in that direction.
Right, right. And then also the same with the size of the companies that we worked with. We work with all different sizes, but some were really, really small and seed funded, and just really didn't have the capability to lean in and work with us, which is important for actual marketing results. Yeah, I mean it's the yes thing. I will say I'm a huge fan of partners and channel. So I always say yes first or say yes now, and we'll figure it out later. Because if it's not in our own capabilities and under our roof, we certainly have somebody in our network that can address it. So the power of your channel and partners is a huge one.
I would agree, right? You can't really understand what you're capable of as an operator until you've had those opportunities to either learn or and have to, pass them off or learn and fail,
Right.
or, find out that, oh yeah, I really do excel at these
Mhm.
two or three areas.
Yeah, yeah, and putting process in place so that you're, again, repeating and making it scalable. So what we do with one client, we're doing with all of them, and same for ourselves.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned working at a company that was acquired by Cisco, and I think that you were there for a little bit of time. So
Right.
how has working for an organization like that influenced kind of your approach with your organization now?
Uh, so good question. I think it just maybe put a little bit more formality into, how we present ourselves and how we package ourselves. But yeah, I mean, Cisco certainly, you button things up. It's very professional, but it is very internal too. You're basically doing marketing for marketing within the organization. So things are much more hyper focused in just like one or two areas as opposed to being able to touch a lot of areas and be a contributor.
So let's dive a little bit more into who or what Expert Marketing Advisors is as an organization. Like who are you focused on as customers? What have you learned so far? What is it that you're delivering there?
So we're end-to-end marketing for B2B tech companies. And that's really our niche is all tech. The team goes back to the later 90s and have seen the evolution of technology, when we went from on-prem to cloud to, obviously cybersecurity and now AI. So the experience in the background makes a big difference. And then, I mean, yeah, so the personality of EMA or expert marketing advisors very much came from woman backed. Our team was primarily women. We did an acquisition last year, which really kind of evened out the team and our geographies as well. But I think originally, there was a bit of empowerment for stay-at-home moms or working moms. So they can still juggle their kids' lives and school pickup and so on. But and we lean in and we are there to support each other and empower each other.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you focus primarily with B2B tech,
Right.
and you had mentioned kind of the trends that we're seeing as far as like the evolution of technology right now with a lot of those firms.
Mhm.
How have your clients' needs evolved over time as well?
Right, right, absolutely. I mean, there is an element of like what's old is new again. So, there's like taglines or there's colors that, 10 years ago, are coming back again. So there's that sort of rinse and repeat pattern that companies go through and approaches and go-to-market strategies. But with that said, the technology side of it, of course, there's, like I said, the on-prem, then the cloud came out, and then there's like performance management tools, and then there's application layer and cloud networking, and so and then bring that even forward to security, which obvious thing, it's been there forever, and AI as well, but it's now actually hitting the forefront of people's minds. It makes a big difference. I mean, the adoption of all these different technologies is allowing us to move faster. By us working across multiple customers and clients, we can see that wave before it hits the shore. What's happening with one company is likely happening with many others. So it helps us give the direction and recommendations.
How do you balance client vision with a successful go-to-market strategy?
But so that would depend on the size. To be honest, it's the size of the company. Because smaller folks, the vision of the company could be as simple as just, securing their first few logos and just getting market validation. Whereas larger companies, it might be a bit more, hyper focused on social media execution and gaining digital reach and followers and engagements and such. We have noticed that the bigger the company, you're a lot more specialized as you go. Whereas the smaller ones, we're aligning to their vision, but also helping educate and steer to get to those and keep them realistic. There's a lot of times we'll jokingly say, got to bring people's heads out of the clouds and back down to the ground. And we had one company we onboarded with, and they had told their board that they were going to secure or close 5 million, and they had less than 500 folks in their database, and we only had 6 months left in the year. So there was a bit of come to Jesus there. Yeah, obviously there's some reality that has to take place.
I would assume that they have their different trade-offs as well as being like fun to work with or because you have more creative freedom versus
Right.
having to be focused on specific areas. So
Yeah.
can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the advantages that we have is we don't really get too involved in politics on the internal side of the company. We're not sitting there positioning for a raise or a promotion. We're really just there to support the people that we're working with and make them look good and deliver those results so they can then take it off to the executives or sales team and so on. So as we again work with companies of all different sizes, we've launched them out of stealth mode. We've worked with are working with people that have been acquired or about to be acquired, and then we roll in with the parent company too, and those are the enterprise folks. That being said, it's more of a fit around the success manager and where their comfort zone is, because a success manager really has to guide, what the expectations are and align to that. The smaller ones, there's a lot more education, a lot more, you're much more hands-on, whereas the bigger ones, it's very cut and dry. So it's just kind of, we aim to fit the right people together.
You had mentioned that you worked with companies that have gone from kind of that growth stage to acquisition and through acquisition. What are some of the key challenges you've observed in scaling into that as well as like beyond that transition of acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of different examples, but there's definitely common denominators. It is a big moment when you get acquired or go IPO, of course. But it is important to remember it's a moment in time. Business goes on, business continues. The integration side of it is kind of interesting. When you put the parent company with the child company, you have overlap of tools, you have overlap of many different things, and so bringing that together while also keeping the brand and the messaging on point from an external point of view, and then merging those actually over time. So, for example, we have one company that keeps acquiring smaller guys, and from the social media side on LinkedIn, we keep kind of rolling these smaller ones into their larger LinkedIn channel, and then sunsetting the smaller ones. So those can be a little challenging for folks. There's a lot of people that are very fond of their tone and their voice and their brand, and they're used to having their hands on things, and now they've got to kind of let that go. So those are probably some of the more obvious challenges that people come across.
But also one of those key areas where you don't necessarily get involved in their politics.
Right.
It's
Right. Yeah.
probably best off that way, right?
Yeah. No, we enjoy it that way. We just want to focus on the results and the work that we're doing. And yeah, to me, I think that's been a real blessing at the end of all of this.
Yeah, it's incredible to have that opportunity, right? Like I don't know very many people who've had the opportunity to watch an organization, let alone multiple organizations, go through a growth phase to either be acquired or IPO or acquire other organizations. So that's kudos to you.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's definitely the more interesting side of my job. We also, like I said, we acquired a company last year. We're positioning to sell ourselves in the course of the next 3 to 5 years, based off of multiples and valuation. So, I felt it was important to kind of dip into the M&A world, mergers and acquisitions, be a buyer so that, we can understand that side of it, and then be a seller and also, our clients, the things that our business owners care about.
Yeah, that's cool.
We took a ebook of ours and pumped it through Notebook, and Notebook shot out a podcast to it was wild. And they were laughing and interrupting each other and fully conversing. I mean, all of the different AI tools that are bubbling up are total game changers, certainly in my industry, but I feel like they're going to be impacting everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that, right? I think that AI, there are definitely parts of AI that are super disruptive in any sort of organization. I think that as people learn how to use the tools more efficiently over the next 2 to 5 years,
Right.
Gen AI is it's still going to be there, but it's not going to be as important as it is today, where you're like prompting the system. It's going to be more about the LLM,
Right. Yeah, no, there's
to
definitely an
better
evolution
understand
of
and leverage
AI.
the data.
Right. I mean, the AI revolution, so to speak, or the evolution of it and the technology itself, I mean, you can see where it's kind of going, and, kind of put some stakes in the ground that, okay, at this point, we'll probably have a little more wider adoption. People will be more comfortable and kind of take it to okay, now that I understand this, what's next? When you're talking with tech folks, we get it. We know the value, and we're already diving in. Whereas I think the general population doesn't actually realize quite yet how much it's impacting their life already as we are today. What I enjoy, actually, I've been having a lot of fun with. I just put ChatGPT and Google right next to each other, and then as I go searching for something, or I need to source something, I'll compare the two. I'll put the exact same thing in Google as I do in ChatGPT, and every single time ChatGPT is just crushing it. So I'll probably do it maybe another week or so, and then, like, I don't know how often I'll be using Google.
I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. So, like, Perplexity is great for live search. I think that they are going to be a huge step in the evolution of how we think about doing search in the future. Right now, I think that their audience is a little bit limited, although I think that they just had like an $8 billion market cap put on them. So, I mean, it's definitely a big player. They have a huge, bright future, but I don't think that they've got a lot of traffic through the platform quite yet.
Sure. Well, and that's a big part of right now how disruptive it is for all the different players. I mean, it's actually kind of leans more toward creating more noise and chaos, which will settle down. Obviously, that it's going to get to a point where there will be the ones that bubble up. The chat GPTs, the gammas, that we're all starting to, like, start sharing what's working for you, what's working for someone else. And I notice when people are reaching out to me what tools they're using, I can recognize those, and I'm like, okay, we're using that too. So, like, the adoption is going to make a big difference for companies at this stage. It's moving past the AGI side and into what I would think is more of like the ASI, artificial super intelligence. where it just, like you can put in the GPT models and, okay, I'm a marketer and I need this and this is da, 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 da. So it can just get more and more precise and specific.
With you working in B2B tech, right, and everybody right now kind of hopping on the AI train, are you finding a lot of organizations just leveraging like open AI APIs to say that they have an AI enabled platform?
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but I think once you take a closer look at some of these folks, they're more lookalikes than actual AI models and such, which is, I mean, I can't really knock it. I guess that's good marketing in some sense, but at the end of the day, you got to actually look at the product. Yeah, you can only put lipstick on a pig for so long.
A personal project of mine, I was looking for someone who could do like large language data
Mhm.
modeling.
Sure.
And I kept reaching out to these organizations that like, oh, I've got this AI in this space. And I would be like, okay, well, can you tell me a little bit more about your platform? Oh, well, we're using ChatGPT and like, how have you overcome these hurdles on the
Right.
personalization and customization? How have you overcome the data cap? Like, how have you overcome? Oh, well, we haven't done that yet. Like, okay,
Right.
then how are you an AI company? What is it that you're doing? You're just selling a wrapper?
Yeah. Yeah, well, essentially that's what it is. I mean, for us, I will say expert marketing advisors, we're looking at our 2025 plan right now. Of course, we always go budget reviews and we're definitely increasing our spend on software tools for 2025, but there'll be a balance as far as where we, get that money back or save. But we won't be an AI marketing technology, just more AI leaders or knowing just the goal is to really position the team to be confident and skilled in using the right tools to get the right outcomes, which I think is an important kind of differential.
So how do you do that for your team?
Yeah, I mean, we've got we're right now meeting every week. We're going to shift it to every other week with the holidays coming. Just there's a lot of these tools where you get that free trial, and then as we sort of start sharing these tips and tricks, we're deciding which ones to truly adopt and which ones have overlap, which ones will actually serve a purpose down the road. And so that's just it takes a little bit of actual attention and time. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've put together like a prompt library that works for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Obviously, I've shared it with other people, like as they've shown interest in it, and just asked
Sure.
for feedback on, hey, like how are these prompts working for you in your application versus like how they work for me in mine, and
Right.
like watch how that evolves, as
Mhm.
well as just the evolution of what you can ask some of these models from a prompt perspective to get like your desired outcome.
Right. Yeah. Some only go to like just a point and then it's like, well, wait, like you need to make adjustments and it kind of hits a wall. So, I mean, we're navigating sort of the ones that we find useful and then, I mean, it's just trial and error and test them out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking with my mom about that this morning. She's like, "Well, how do you find these tools?" And I'm like, "Well, really it's just you have to take advantage of the free trial and make sure that they're able to perform what they say they're able to do, and then are they able to learn enough about you and what it is that you're looking to do
Right.
with the tool that it's going to be feasible as a tool that you'll use in the future."
Yeah. Essentially, you need it to be an extension of your already like work and time focus. I mean, I will say I have a very short attention span. So if
It's
I'm logging on to something and it's like the UI and I'm poking around and I don't know which way to go, you've lost me right there. Like I'm moving on. I mean, it's just the American way, right? We want it now and we want it easy and we want it fast. So,
Well, that and I think that founders all kind of have that like ADHD thing that kind of makes us great at what we do. We're able to absorb a lot of information from a lot of different places and then kind of
sure.
compartmentalize and sift and filter through those things as we begin
Yeah.
to understand more of those pieces. But when it comes to software, right, it should be relatively easy for us to go in,
Absolutely.
engage with it, and get the information out that we need
Yeah.
in.
100%. They have to be user friendly because the adoption will not become mainstream unless it
Right.
can be something for as easy your mom could use. Like I, as a somewhat technical person, can't navigate it, then I don't think that company's really going to make it in the long game.
In all fairness, my mom is quite technical. She worked for
Okay.
Oracle for 20
Okay.
plus years as a DBA. So,
Okay.
not the best example, although she's retired now. But yeah, not
Yeah.
necessarily the best call out.
Okay. All right. We'll go with grandma, my grandma.
Sure. How do you think that like automation tools like Zapier or Make are playing a role in making our jobs as founders and marketers easier for, client acquisition or
Like I'll default to like sort of the generic answer and that they're more of the easy button. When it comes to like knowing when your customers are, losing interest or maybe not as happy as they first started off, giving you sort of like that temperature check, integrating, of course, pulling the tools together. Although even now I kind of feel like that's built into a lot of like the tools that are going to sustain for the future. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just default to easy button. Truly, that's kind of what they're all there for.
as a B2B marketer, go to market strategy expert, how do you think technology is going to play a role and evolve your strategy setting for your clients?
Anything that we introduce or anything that expert marketing advisor starts to adopt, we of course will knowledge share. And that'll make a big difference for the little bit more the old school CMOs or head of marketing. Because I mean, it's always the younger generation that's kind of like kicking the tires to push things forward. So again, we want to be the people that kind of specialize and give recommendations and can, help people feel more confident in what it is that they're being asked of or what it is that is being asked of them. So I think maybe that's probably the simplistic answer. Technology obviously isn't everything. And I just think it's going to start accelerating all different areas, whether that's data analytics and, storage or, as simple as just knowing what needs to show up my front door every week. Yeah, it's just gonna, facial recognition. That one got me last year. I think it was last year when I went to the AWS reInvent show. It was very obvious that they were tracking our faces to our badges and such, which I thought was this is everywhere.
The amount of data that's being tracked on a single individual at any given time across any organization is
Mhm.
astounding.
Yeah, no, it's more valuable than the dollar. It's more valuable than gold. I mean, we've always said that, like your data is king. Gosh, 10, 15 years ago, I remember hearing this and it holds true. Your personal property, your house might be worth $1 million. Your digital footprint is worth 10 times that. So it really kind of encouraged me to say, okay, let me lean in and put myself out there and, build a network and so on, which easily has, 10 times my property value.
Well, if you think about that, think about it from, just the organizations. Look at the most valuable organizations in the world. Most of them have some sort of mechanism to be able to capture and track your personal information.
Yeah. I mean, there was another one I was talking with a former client who's now spinning out to start their own gig. And he likes the idea. And it's kind of a wild idea, but it makes sense with the way the world is kind of going and technology being utilized. But an individual like myself, as an example, we should be able to at some point say, okay, this person lived here at this time in this place with this environment, and then it has moved through parts of life, and then map that on top of your genetic makeup and your DNA, and pinpoint exactly like when and how I might get sick, which is also kind of a full circle view of one's life, if that makes sense. But yeah, we're tracking everything.
Yeah, I mean that would be super valuable in the hands of like
Healthcare.
healthcare or insurance companies to just
Yeah.
understand the
Yeah.
profile of the individuals that they're underwriting.
Hopefully insurance companies won't have the stronghold that they have today. I'm not a huge
Well,
fan.
I would agree, but I think that like if that technology did exist, right, and we had a better understanding of what
Mhm.
people's more finite life expectancies are,
Mhm, mhm.
right? I think that would help or hinder
Yeah, I mean, it's not going
our
to.
planning.
Yeah, if anything, it just gives a bigger picture, a more in-depth picture, which I don't think that's ever going to hurt. The use
This is
cases on and on.
Yeah, no, totally.
Very.
That it's wild to think about. It's
The other one that I really love is the self-automated driving cars, Tesla, whatever, but like to a point where there will no longer be a steering wheel. And I do think I'm going to see that in the next 10 years. But also to a point where I can go to an appointment, have my car drive me to my appointment. While I'm in the appointment, a 2 hour appointment or what have you, I can tell the car to go and Uber and pick up other folks and earn money as a share ride, and then just be back and pick me up at the time of my appointment ending, which is just like it will take some time, obviously, because really at the end of the day, when those cars are moving, they're safer than a manual driver, but you have to integrate those or put those cars on their own system.
I think it's got to be an all or nothing type of thing because I keep flashing back in my mind to the scene from Robot where he does the manual override of the vehicle and ends up creating this huge pileup
Mhm.
on the highway. So
Right,
I would think that there's going to be a challenge with integrating manual driven
right.
cars with automated cars if there isn't like a finite switchover date that you go from a manual driven car
Or you just
to.
set up an entirely different road system. Basically, maybe these cars can go 8 feet above the manual drivers, and they operate, more as a hover. I don't know. I love it though. I love like it's not my job, thankfully, but I'm definitely going to be sitting in the front row.
So you would consider yourself an early adapter when it comes to technology?
I don't know. No, no. But certainly with something like AI, you're gonna get it's here. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's gonna continue to grow and be more and more capable and different results. You can't. I mean, you're gonna get left behind. So yeah, I don't know if I'd say an early adopter, but I'm definitely not afraid of it. I think it's exciting, really exciting.
Do you think AI and automation are kind of the bigger business disruptors that we'll see in, the next 10 years?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're pouring the VCs and investors are just pouring money into this. Yeah, I mean, the application layer is important. Cloud security, of course, layer all that stuff in. But even cloud coming back to on-prem for storage purposes. I mean, NVIDIA is, there's different examples of where kind of what's old is new again. But yeah, AI is the one that's kind of driving that, all of those.
Are you seeing anything beyond that from some of the companies that you're working with?
Not currently, but I did have this conversation with somebody at Black Hat last year.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so what do we see coming after AI? Because you can see the evolution of technology over the last 20 years or even longer. But so I think it's going to take quite a while for the AI adoption to really be mainstream in a way that everybody's comfortable in using it, and like it just changes our everyday life. So maybe another 5 years where AI is sitting sort of at that forefront. But if you think back to cybersecurity or security as a whole, that was maybe 5 years ago. I mean, really catapulted with the Ukraine, sort of the war and the election, and people just realizing that you have vulnerabilities. So looking forward, obviously, I mean, it was suggested that maybe like quantum physics could be the next thing coming around the corner, which like I can't even. It's way outside my yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not there yet. But yeah, it would be pretty cool to bring that into, everyday life.
that would be wild.
Yeah, the possibilities there. It's just like I can't even get my head around.
Well,
Yeah.
Courtney, you've been great. So we've come to the end of the podcast. This is where I give you 90 seconds to plug anything that you're passionate about, whether that be expert marketing advisors or some other passion project or charity. So without further ado, the floor is
Yeah,
yours.
no, I appreciate it. I mean, my passion, I'm fortunate enough I'm able to work and do what I love, which is marketing, and have a great team of folks that are very seasoned and experienced in the world of B2B tech. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it there and plug Expert Marketing Advisors as an end-to-end marketing team to support your B2B tech companies.